So good morning, One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living. Glad to see all these faces. And I am going to kick us off with, actually, this is a video. So I'm going to do the video and share the sound. I think you'll enjoy it. I did. All right, I'm going to get this going here.
Engineers say bumblebees can't fly, their wings are too short and their bodies too wide, but there one goes a-wandering by. It happens all the time. There's just no way lightning could be born. They measured the clouds and it just can't form, but it cracks the sky in every thunderstorm. It happens all the time. It's impossible, 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 until it's not. There's a light in the night from stars long gone. A half-formed thought becomes a song. We rise from our grief and go on. It happens all the time. There's a lake that you cannot see across, a way through the woods that I thought I'd lost, clearing out everything that is time to toss. It happens all the time. It's impossible, 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 until it's not. I won't say it cannot be. It hasn't happened yet, but wait and see. Life, followed my heart against all advice, and yes, I've fallen more than once or twice. I'll follow anyway. A golden moon pulls from our sleep and feels as close as our hands and feet. The road's too hard and it's too damn steep. We'll climb it anyway. It's impossible, 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 until it's not.
Possible until it's not. That sounds like a science of mind perspective. So I thought I'd share that. I thought that was good. I thought it'd be a good way to kick us off this morning. We're kind of a quiet bunch today. I mean, a small, intimate bunch, but we know that lots of people will watch our replay. So I'm going to hand this off to our practitioner of the day, Lissa Lazaro. Good morning, Lissa.
Good morning.
And so I hear that you've
everybody,
got,
and kudos thanks to Rob for making it possible that I could be on today, as he very kindly came and fixed my sound. So
that's great. I was going to say that. So glad you got it. You got all online. You got her all fixed up, Rob. Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. Um, and so at any rate, this week is the week that we are talking about trust being embodied. Well, whenever we have this topic, whenever I'm going to have platform, I always think about it during the week. And so, and it's like in combination with that, this week I was also really was thinking about staying in the moment, being in the present moment, no matter what happens, and being aware. And so Spirit gave me a lot of lessons to deal with that this week. But I think that in general, it's kind of like I started out and it was like in my mind, okay, so what's the difference between faith and trust for me? And so then I finally came to this thinking about the issue of it, that with faith you is your practice, and it's also all the things, it's your soul, it's like what you've learned, what you studied, who you are, how you respond to life, what you love, what your desires are, all that stuff is a part of what builds your faith or what you have faith in. But then you really have to take a journey to get to trust, unless you're still a baby. And I was noticing the fact that I suddenly remembered my child development training and the fact that Erickson talked about how at 8 or 9 months, the baby has stranger anxiety. And the only person it really wants to see is its mother. And it's like that's when, Granny comes over and gets growled at or tears or whatever, because it's mama, because the child has already developed a certain level of faith that his goodness is going to come from this person who feeds him, etc. And I mean, there's also a physiological bond, but we won't talk about that. But at any rate, so it's like that's a process, because when a baby's first born, they only think of themselves and getting fed, etc. So it's this essence of thinking about it's a process. It's not instantaneous. And so then because we're talking about embodying it, and so I was thinking about that. And then I watched that Netflix movie, The Swedish Affair, and I really recommend it if you haven't seen it. It's essentially it's based on a true story about what's his name? Casto Engzel, Engzell. And he was the immigration officer, among other things, for Sweden, for the foreign office, during WW2. And so think about 1942, and Sweden is a little neutral country in the middle, surrounded totally by Axis countries. And so they're neutral. So they have polite relations with Germany. Germany is getting arms from them and sending things through them, etc., etc. But they have absolutely no awareness. They know that the Jews are being sent to labor camps, but all of a sudden, through an SS officer who talks to another person in the Foreign Service, another Swede, he tells them that there's genocide going on, that the Jews are being killed. And at first, Engstrom thinks it's just, it's just gossip. It's not. But he has reason. He finally begins to realize it's true. And so, anyway, making a long story short, he essentially his background is law, and he is the epitome of a bureaucrat. He doesn't speak up in meetings. He's very, very, very quiet, very low key. He's a loving father of 4 boys, but at work, although he's the boss, he normally isn't very assertive, apparently, and he's a company man. But because of that information and who he is, all of a sudden he begins finding ways that Swedes who are in Germany, he gets them out and gets them back to Sweden. And then finally, when things get tougher and he's not able, he makes passports for people. And and then there's this turning point where there are these 2 children who their stepfather is the German, that he tries to get them out. and isn't able to. And that sort of turns him. And so, because he has the power to do it, he opens the door of Sweden to any Jew anywhere who wants to come there. And he ultimately saved probably 100,000 Jews during that period of time by doing that. And and it's like, and he never really talked about it, according to what I read about him. And it was just a part of who he was. And I just think about that intuitive thing. And it's like coming from love, love of his fellow people, that it combined. I mean, it's like his soul spoke, is what I feel like. And I felt like that is really what happens to all of us, in not maybe in such a big way. Maybe we aren't given an opportunity to rescue that many people from, in that kind of way. But I was just thinking about, and I was talking to my friend Patrice about it too, and that in terms of our work as in the therapeutic field, and also totally, I remember, in terms of working with children in adoptions, all that knowledge and who you are that comes through intuitively, that's that you've put it into your body, you put it into your being, so that you have your line, you have your trust line, that's your intuition, that connects you to spirit, that gives you the clue as to what you're supposed to do. And so, at any rate, and then I look at the thing this morning, that the email that Michelle sent, and it's like she put it into words: faith as a spiritual practice deepens the flow of spirit's life waters through our lives, and that gives way to trust as a way of being. And so I think that really is the lesson. And the reality for me was also that sense of, it's something that I've been working on. And I realized, it's like I wanted to embody trust from the perspective, and it was like from an intellectual perspective.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, by virtue of going into it like that, I really feel it, and I understand it, and I understand how much more trust I do have than I had even before I had my big illness. So that's kind of it.
Yeah.
So why don't we go into prayer? Just taking a nice deep breath, and knowing that we are surrounded and engulfed in the greatest loving spirit that empowers the entire universe, and that we are one with this incredible power, that we are able to draw from its essence into our lives in order to be able to manifest who we really are, and to use the gifts that we've been given or attached to ourselves in a way that serves love in the universe. And so I speak my word for each and every person who is in the range of my voice, that you have this power within you, and that all you have to do is look within, look at yourself, in terms of the ways in which your intuition has guided you into the gifts that you are giving people every day, whatever your gifts are. And so I am so grateful to know that this is the truth, and that we are blessed, each and every one of us, and that we are one human family, and also we're attached, and we are individualized expressions of the one, and our gifts are the individualization. And so bless yourself and bless your gifts. And I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to know this in the deepest part of my being, and to be ready and willing to know it for each and every one of you. And so I release my word into the law by saying, and so it is.
Beautiful.
So our affirmation: I trust the quiet unfolding of the divine presence. I welcome the new expression of life moving through me. I say yes to fresh possibilities, new growth, and deeper truth. I am renewed, I am ready, and I walk forward in faith. And so it is.
And so it is. Uh, Gosh, thank you for that, Lisa. That was really beautiful, and I think I think you really kind of nailed the essence of what we're talking about today. It's not just the intellectual idea.
Right.
It's really about the embodiment. So let's see, I have another song that is actually also a video as well. I had kind of a fun time looking through all the YouTube stuff this week. I found some stuff that wouldn't work, and I found a lot of stuff that would work. So and so this is really about trust, this video. And well, you'll see.
I used to chase the future like it owed me something more. Running through the noise, always knocking on a door. Try to force the time and try to make it mine, till I felt a quiet whisper say, you're already in the line. Now I breathe a little deeper, let the moment be. There's a rhythm in the chaos and it's carrying me. I don't need the answers, don't need every sign. There's a current pulling gently and I know it's mine. Even in the way that I can feel it grow, something bigger moving I don't have to control. Every step unfolding like it's meant to be. What's already mine is finding me. I trust life, I believe. I could cry, I just know I trust life. I trust life, I believe. I could cry, I just know I trust life. There's a fire in my chest, but it's calm and bright. Not a desperate kind of burning, it's a steady light. Every doubt that tried to shake me fades away, 'cause I feel what's coming closer every single day. I don't beg the universe, I don't have to fight. What is meant will meet me in the perfect time. Bigger than I dreamed, better than I planned. It's already reaching out its hand. Even when I can't see where it's gonna go, there's a knowing in my bones I've come to know. Like the tide is turning just for me. Everything I need is on its way to me. I trust life, I believe. I could cry, I just know I trust life. I trust life, I believe. I could cry, I just know I trust life. I release the fear, let it fall away. I don't have to chase what won't stay. If it's real, it's rising up to me in ways I never thought I'd see. There's beauty on the way, I feel it now. In every breath, in every doubt, turning into something I can't deny. I don't question anymore. I trust life, I trust life. I believe, I believe. I could cry, I just know. I trust life, I believe. I could cry, I just know I trust life. I trust life. I trust life.
Well, I think that kind of put into words everything you were trying to say, Lisa.
Yeah.
Oh, that does it. And I could feel the embodiment in the song, and I think that's what spoke to me about it is that it wasn't just an intellectual activity. So,
Right.
so good morning again, my one heart, one mind Center for Spiritual Living family. I always have to make sure I say that. And also, whether you're here in the Zoom room right now in real time or you're listening to the replay, just welcome into our loving community. We're just open and loving, and everyone is welcome here. And happy Memorial Day. And as you've probably guessed by now, today's message is all about trust. But let's take a little side trip for a minute and reflect on Memorial Day, because I think I can find the seeds of trust in our Memorial Day celebration. Over the past few years, Memorial Day has kind of become the unofficial beginning of summer, but we can also use it as an invitation to something deeper. Remembrance. To memorialize means to remember. And remembrance from a spiritual perspective can be a very sacred act. To remember can call our awareness into what is eternally true, to remember who we are beneath all of the appearances, beneath fear, division, or uncertainty, and beneath our personalities and our opinions and all our seemingly differences that we have. To remember that we're all one human family. And I think when we remember in this way, we can feel our connection to something greater than ourselves, something that unites us and unifies us. The same divine presence, whatever we call it. And we can begin to recognize its movement through every act of courage and compassion and love that we see in the world. And as we remember, it kind of bolsters our trust in the goodness and the graciousness and the givingness of God that is inherent within us all. And this makes Memorial Day more than just another holiday. It makes it a really a spiritual invitation to live from trust. Because trust isn't just, as I said, an intellectual activity. It's just not an idea we hold in our mind. It's an embodied state of being. When we live in trust, we live from knowing. We live from knowing that love is real, that life has meaning, and there's something greater holding and guiding us, even when we can't see the outcome. We don't know the end game. And last week, as Lissa said, we talked about faith as a spiritual practice. And I don't think that it's a stretch to say that faith is the inner recognition of love and peace and the goodness of God. Faith knows the potential that is inherent within the infinite field of the mind of God. And trust is what happens when our recognition becomes embodied in the way that we live, in the way that we show up. And it seems to me that the men and the women that we honor on Memorial Day, regardless of their individual beliefs or perspectives, they embodied a profound form of trust. A trust expressed through their service and their courage and through their willingness to live for something beyond themselves, something grounded in the shared universal principles of freedom and justice and a world where there is opportunity for everyone. And that kind of trust isn't just about believing you're right and somebody else is wrong. Human beings can disagree deeply on all kinds of things and still act from sincerity and conscience and love, from the inherent goodness that is within us all, that we can feel. And I believe spiritual trust is less about a particular ideology and more about being in integrity with universal God and universal presence, um, a presence of good, and being inwardly aligned with the deepest truth that we know within ourselves is true, that we feel, the truth we feel in our hearts. And I don't care who you are. There is always within us a sense of longing for love. We all have that as human beings, no matter what we tend to present on the outside. I know it for people that I think, man, did they get lost? I know that deep within them is love. There's always love. There's always peace. There's freedom. And when we live in integrity with the divine presence that's within us, something in us settles. Our thoughts and our values, our words, our actions, they begin to move in the same direction. They begin to move in harmony. And we no longer feel divided within ourselves. And we live from that inner alignment. And we can't help but naturally express our deepest truths in the way that we live our lives, in the way that we love and serve and show up for life. And we begin to trust life and embody that trust as our lived experience. So I did a little digging about the origins of Memorial Day, and I discovered something that I thought was really interesting. I'd never heard this before, that the first kind of unofficial observance of Memorial Day was
Yeah.
on May 1st in 1865. A crowd of 10,000 freed slaves held a parade around a racetrack in Charleston, South Carolina. And the racetrack had been used as a makeshift prison for Union captives. And 3,000 Black school children carried bouquets of flowers and they sang, and members of the Black Union regiments performed double time marches, how they do in the service, and Black ministers recited verses from the Bible. And it was this kind of unofficial demonstration of trust in a greater truth, a greater love, a greater equality that gave birth, I think, to our current official Memorial Day celebrations, which the first one I think began, it was 3 years later. So it was May 30th, 1868. And it was called Decoration Day. It wasn't even called Memorial Day yet, but it was still an honoring, a remembering, and an expression of gratitude for those that gave their lives to this greater truth. And as I was reading these stories about the origins of this holiday, I have to say that it kind of made me want to hold the flavor of this remembrance and gratitude for those that have come before me, in my own life, and to honor their contributions and to show my gratitude with my own participation in the continued flow of life and the continued flow of good, of freedom, of justice, of peace, and to serve and to contribute in my own way. And I started thinking about the ways in which I embody trust already. And, there's actually many places in our lives where we already embody trust, and it just comes to us naturally. Trust is standing on a bridge that was built by people we've never met, who laid down the beams that we walk or drive on, and that we never really think about. I trust that someone cared enough to make the way safe for us, that made the bridge safe. Or we could say that trust is like running a relay race, and trusting that the other runners in the race will carry the baton forward to the best of their ability. And we could say that we've inherited the baton from the men and the women who founded and those who served our country, the ones who held a vision of freedom and opportunity, even though that vision wasn't really complete at the beginning, it didn't include everyone yet. but we can hold that vision, and these are the people who came before us and embodied the conviction and the commitment and the courage to carry the baton forward, just like in a relay race. And they did it not only philosophically, but they also did it physically. They gave their lives. And we honor these examples of embodied trust. We trust in a higher vision for life. We trust that they held in every part of their being that this higher vision would come to pass, that they believed in it, they embodied it. And now we're called to carry the baton in our own way, in our own hearts, in our own minds. So happy Remembrance Day. So I just wanted to really address Memorial Day because as I was investigating it, I realized the potential here for a rich celebration. So this month, there's been a natural progression unfolding in my Sunday talks. You may have noticed. We began the month by exploring the very human experience of doubt, and doubt not as something terrible to avoid or push away, but as a doorway into growth, expansion, deeper personal insight. And we looked at doubt as kind of a sentinel, revealing the beliefs and the assumptions that we may be just kind of quietly operating from, that are beneath the surface of our conscious thought, but they also give us an opportunity to doubt, also gives us an opportunity to bring it into the light of divine truth and to be transformed. And from there, we moved into the question of what remains when doubt falls away. And I suggested that when doubt falls away, there is the natural flow and the givingness of life itself. And I talked about our participation in that flow of life. And then we explored, as Lissa said, we explored how faith enhances that flow and how we use spiritual practice to consciously participate with its movement, how spiritual practices become the rope in the bucket that we lower into the infinite well of Spirit's life-giving waters, and how empowered we are to use these living waters of life so that the spiritual principles we teach and believe in become more than merely ideas we just think about, but realities that we begin to embody and to live, so that they become a state of deep trust. I have no idea what I'm going to talk about next week, but I'm sure it'll be good. We'll see. We'll see if we can move on from there. Yeah, I've already said a bit about trust through the lens of Memorial Day from remembrance. But let's continue to kind of unpack that. So that we can get to the point where it does feel like we are embodying it. And I've suggested that trust is much more than optimism or just positive thinking, that it's a way of being in relationship with life itself and to fully embody it. And we're going to have to think about what it is that we actually believe and what we are embodying, or what we intuitively know about life and our source and our relationship to it. What is true for us personally? Otherwise, we won't be able to live it authentically. We'll be borrowing it from somebody else. We won't be able to be in integrity with what we feel inside. And I can't help but think, as I was thinking about what embodying something personally, I thought about one of the central teachings from the Baha'i faith. It's a principle that is called independent investigation of truth. Independent investigation of truth. And the idea is that each person has both the right and the responsibility to seek truth for themselves, rather than, like I said, inherit beliefs from traditions, culture, family, or any other authority. In the Baha'i view, spiritual maturity requires personal inquiry. We're not meant to surrender our discernment. We're meant to awaken it. And what makes this especially relevant to the idea of trust is that authentic trust is not blind acceptance. It's not passive belief. Trust as a state of being can only be sustained in our lives when it emerges, when it rises up from something deeper, from our lived experience, from tested insight, from a truth that we've personally encountered within our own consciousness and in our own lived and felt experiences. Independent investigation of truth is about how doubt, which we talked about early on, becomes a part of a sacred process of spiritual unfolding. Our questions then aren't failures of faith, they're the beginning of a more honest relationship with truth. And the Baha'i perspective honors the idea that all of the things that contribute to that investigation, inquiry, reflection, prayer, experience, and observation, they all just all kind of work together in the unfolding of our spiritual understanding, which contributes to our spiritual growth and our spiritual maturity. And of course, this kind of inquiry is exactly what Science of Mind teaches. Ernest Holmes guided us toward direct spiritual realization rather than any kind of secondhand belief. Holmes consistently, and I wrote down some of his quotes because they exemplify this idea. He consistently invited us to go to be internal, to look within, to see what was true for us personally. He told us that there is no authority except our own soul. No authority except our own soul. What is true here? He affirmed that principle is not bound by precedent. We probably heard that a million times. But he went on, I'd never heard this part of the quote, the soul of mankind is not bound by the thoughts of men. So nothing anybody has ever taught us before has precedent over what is true for us personally. And to build on last week's message, which of course I talked about faith, Holmes also said faith is not blind. It is the soul's awareness of its union with good. The soul's awareness of its union with good. The embodiment of universal spiritual truth. And this is what we put our trust in. This is what creates a state of being for us personally, our individual expression of trust. Because ultimately, what we place our trust in shapes the atmosphere of our lives. If all we trust is appearances and circumstances, fear, public opinion, there's a lot of that to go around right now, or conditioned beliefs, like, oh my gosh, this is true, then our inner life just mirrors that instability. But when, through sincere personal investigation, we come to recognize something endearing beneath all the changing conditions and situations of life, a spiritual reality that we directly experience, then trust begins to move from just an idea, an abstraction, into an embodiment. And at this point, trust is no longer merely something we try to practice. It becomes a way of being. It becomes our orientation towards life itself. And I believe this is the beautiful request, the invitation of both Science of Mind and Baha'i, and probably other spiritual traditions too, which I didn't dive into. We're encouraged to think deeply and to question honestly and to sincerely seek, so that trust is developed. The trust that we develop is rooted in something solid and in awakened consciousness rather than, like I said, just a belief borrowed from somewhere else. Which means that our trust is so deep that we can live it in our daily ordinary human experiences. And that's when we know it's really embodied, right? It means we live from that inner knowing that goes deeper than just the temporary conditions we see around us. We live from trust and an unchanging kind of divine presence, a reality that remains whole and stable and constant regardless of any situation. And then our lives begin to reflect that consistency, that constancy of the unchanging presence of good, which is God. I read this kind of really cool little story. It's an observation from author Mark Nepo. You might know him. He's kind of a poet. Everything he writes is very poetic, but I just kind of paraphrased his story here. And then I thought this was a really good visual about how trust is embodied, of how when we're so rooted in that constancy and that love and that comfort really of our source, we can relax and let go of anything else. And we can be with really basically whatever situation is right in front of us. So anyway, Nepo recalls a time when he and a friend, they wandered into the corner of the Central Park Zoo, which I'm assuming is in New York, Central Park, right? And even though there were like dozens of tourists kind of pointing and tapping on the glass of this monkey habitat, he saw that there were these two monkeys that were kind of squatting together on a stone in the middle of the environment, the habitat. And to his surprise, both monkeys were in a deep state of sleep. He said that their heads rested on each other and their little bodies were leaning up against each other for support. And what he really saw with amazement, he said in his very poetic way, was that their little delicate fingers were intertwined with each other. And he said that it was really clear to him that it was this sustained touch that allowed them to sleep. As long as they were touching, as long as they felt that support and connectedness, they could just let go. And Nepo said that he envied their trust. And this is the state of trust that I want to live my life from, right? To daily, moment by moment, be kind of buoyed up by the trust, my trust in the flow of life and the good of life, the peace of life, to embody my oneness so thoroughly that I trust it and live from it. And, that is really to me what embodied trust feels like. So, and you know me, I gotta throw some science in here. So I also found this about trust from a scientific perspective. Modern science supports the idea that trust is not merely a psychological concept, but something that actually affects our biology. Our nervous systems are, we know this, are constantly scanning our environment for signs of danger and safety. And scientists actually call this neuroception. So I guess it's perceiving from our neurons, right? And the body, it's kind of like the body's unconscious way of saying, am I safe right now? And it happens long before our conscious mind can even form a thought. The body's already responding. And from an evolutionary perspective, this makes a lot of sense, right? The human brain is designed for survival. But science also knows that when we live in chronic fear and stress and that hypervigilance, that our nervous system kind of contracts and our body stays prepared. What is it? Cortisol that gets released. Our body stays prepared for danger, and we can no longer just be present. And apparently studies show that our creativity narrows and our compassion narrows and our possibilities narrow. But remarkably, and you knew there was going to be an upside, scientists have also discovered that a deep sense of trust changes everything. When we experience a deep sense of trust, we feel safe and connected and loved. It gives us meaning. We feel compassionate and grateful. And the parasympathetic nervous system begins to activate, and the body regulates, and our breathing softens, and the rhythms of our heart become more coherent and aligned with peace. Our minds become open and creative and resilient. Trust literally changes the conditions through which we perceive our reality, which is amazing, right? So, having said all that, and I've talked a bunch, I think that the deeper meaning of trust as a state of being is not that we're spared from the waves of human experience. It's that we learn how to float with them. We learn how to be steeped in a relationship with the deeper currents of divine truth. Because life is going to continue to move and to change. And our state of trust can be a kind of that quiet inner voice that says, even here, God is present. Even here, love has not abandoned us. Even here, something deeper is carrying us forward. Trust is an embodied relationship with universal love and truth, which knows how to breathe and how to soften, how to release, and how to remain open even when we don't know what's going to come next. This is living in a state of trust. So today, let's honor Memorial Day by continuing to trust and to stand on that universal principle and to let remembrance be kind of our shared act of demonstrating our trust. So let's take a breath. And just know with me that this embodiment of trust is the first two steps of spiritual mind treatment. It is knowing that God is and knowing that we are one with it. And we allow it to be the resonance, the vibration, the embodiment that we impress creative law with. And it cannot help but demonstrate in our personal lives and in our world. And for this, we're just grateful. We're so grateful. And we rest in this certainty that all is well and all is flowing to a greater good for all of life. So for that, I just say thank you. We allow it to be, and together we say, and so it is. Well, that was fun. I enjoyed exploring Memorial Day in a different way and kind of weaving the state of being of trust into what we celebrate today and tomorrow, and how we look at that celebration. So, Rob, are you doing the? Oh, you know what? I think it's me. All right, I'll just go with it. So let's see. I did actually, I think, put up those. I think everybody knows this, but I'll pop it up anyway. What the heck? So these are the ways we give. And I have to say, I just got a bunch of checks and Venmo expressions of gratitude. So I want to thank everybody who continues to give and continues to support our center and so that we can continue to do this and support each other and be that light in the world. So these are the ways to give. You know the drill. Venmo, or I get a lot of checks in the mail, and now I always feel safe about my snail mail because I have a locked mailbox, which is wonderful. So nothing disappears. Everything is there. It's wonderful. All right. And then let's see, our sacred giving affirmation, which I think it's almost time for me to update this. It's been a while, so change is always good. I mean, I like it, but change is always good. See, I give with a grateful heart. knowing that Spirit is the source and the substance of all supply. I joyfully participate in the circulation of abundance. My blessing, my offering, my blessing offers, my offering blesses the world and returns to me multiplied. I'm grateful, I'm prosperous, and so it is. And so it is, and so it is in our heart. And as far as upcoming announcements, we're doing our Monday night prayer group. We're doing our Tuesday evening book group, and I think we're on chapters 19 and 20. We're coming to the end of our wonderful book. Actually, it's been a fun book. A Happy Pocket Full of Money. And I don't believe, oh no, wait, there is Relaine is doing her what is it called? Expectancy, I forget. Well, you know what I mean. It's on Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. What is it called? Why am I blanking? I'm completely blanking.
I'm liking
Do
to.
you remember,
The
Lisa?
joyous expectancy. The
What is
joyous
it?
expect
What's it?
the joyous expectancy of being me.
Thank you. I knew it was something about expectancy, but it was gone. Thank you. And then that is on Wednesday evening, and that's fun. Last time I had a little glitch. I had a dog issue, but this week I'm not planning on that, so it should be okay. Let's see. Then June 7th. I've been saying the 5th, and I realized I had the date wrong. June 7th is our first Sunday every other month that we go to Ulm. And I spoke with Suzette, and we're going to be talking about love and the practicality of living love. It should be fun. And I think that's about it. And so, Rob, I know I'm supposed to do the benediction, but can I ask you to do it just because I'm tired of talking?
You got it.
Thank you.
Happy to be of service. And to that end, I invite everyone to just relax where you are, sink into your chair, feel your body just relaxing from top to bottom. And as you do, the obviousness of the presence of God becomes more present, and your life just becomes more simple. And right now, I am knowing that this knowingness of God's presence throughout us, just flowing through us, permeating every piece of our life, with the ability on command to make everything right, everything just splendid, everything just feeling really special. I know this is true for everyone here, that we can all feel the presence of God actively benefiting every part of our lives. And just being filled with the gratitude that this is so, and this is always so, and this will always be so. And so I do say thank you for this wonderful service we've had. This wonder that trust is so easy when we just allow the knowingness to be present. And so we are trusting as we move forward that life is just so good. I am so grateful for Lissa, and I'm grateful for the Swedes, and I'm grateful for the people that step up when they are needed. I am so grateful for all that Michelle spoke of, that how it's going to help us and benefit us and make our lives better. And I am so grateful for everyone here, that we have all come just to celebrate each other and to celebrate life and celebrate how wonderful everything is. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, that all of this is true. I release my word, and together we say, and so it is.
Oh, beautiful. Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that. I just want to say that this last song that I'm going to play, when I first listened to it, it brought me to tears for some reason, because it talks about, you really have to kind of listen to the lyrics, although it's a video and the lyrics are on the screen. But it reminded me how infused our daily lives are with the presence of God, that everything is holy and everything is just beautiful, that it really is all about faith, trust, and recognizing the love. So here's, uh-oh, This is the wrong one. I just did this one. Wait a minute. I'll change the screen. Okay. That's not what I want. Sorry about that. I thought I had it all queued up and then I realized I didn't. Okay, here we go. Now I've got it. I've got the sound shared. And it's called Holy as the Day is Spent, which I think is a biblical.
Holy is the dish and drain, the soap and sink and the cup and plate, the warm wool socks, the cold white tile, shower heads and good dry towels, and flying eggs sound like songs, with bits of salt measured in my palm, and it's all a part of a sacrament, as holy as a day spent. Holy is the busy street, the cars that boom with passion's beat, and the checkout girl counting change, the hands that shook my hands today, and hymns of geese fly overhead and spread their wings like their parents did. Blessed be the dog that runs in her sleep to chase some wild and elusive thing. Holy is the familiar room and quiet moments in the afternoon, and folding sheets like folding hands to pray as only laundry can. I'm letting go of all my fear, like autumn leaves made of earth and air. But the summer came and the summer went, as holy as a day is spent. Holy is the place I stand to give whatever small good I can, and the empty page, the open book, redemption everywhere I look. Unknowingly we slow our pace, the shade of unexpected grace, and with grateful smiles and sad lament, as holy as a day is spent, and morning light sings providence, as holy as a day is spent.
I just think that is such a beautiful sentiment. I loved it. So I am going to go ahead and, oh, it looks like we lost Renetta. Israel must have been acting up. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.